Now, today is Rakshabandhan, and across the country, millions of sisters are tying Rakhis for their brothers, and this is a truly powerful symbol. If you're a brother, this means that you're promising to always have your sister's back. It also means that you've bought a lovely gift for your sister to tell her how much she means to you. But let's think about this for a bit. In India today, we're proud of our sisters' success. We're over the moon when they land a good job and are able to stand on their own 2 feet. This doesn't mean that you won't be there when she needs you, but the ideal scenario, especially in a financial sense, is for her to be self-sufficient. This conversation then is dedicated to all the women out there. And joining me to talk about this in more detail is Mrin Agarwal, the founder director of Finsafe. Mrin, good evening to you, and thanks so much for taking the time. Often we talk about what a brother can do for his sister on the occasion of Rakshabandhan, what mutual funds can he invest in on her behalf, what she can do with the cash. But I think before we get to that, and those are important questions to ask, definitely, would you say that the tables should turn and that women, as they stand today with the opportunities that are available, should be able to stand on their own 2 feet? Self-reliance should be the ultimate goal?
Absolutely. Good evening, Alex. And it's lovely to be on your show today on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan. Absolutely. Why not? If women can stand on their own 2 feet in every other aspect of their life, whether it is their career or the other decisions that they make around their life, why not around money matters as well?
But let's get into how they can achieve that. And to a certain extent, there is, of course, a conversation that we have on a daily basis which helps people in general, not specifically women, but people in general achieve financial well-being. Would you say that there are changes that are needed in mindset for a lot of women out there? And I'm trying not to make generalizations, Mrin. I'm speaking to you because I know that you're one of the best financial planners that I can speak to on an ongoing basis. And that goes to say, right? So women are able to make financial decisions. The fact is that they tend to shy away from them. Is that not true?
Yes, that's true. And I think it's because maybe they're not confident about some of the decisions because they really don't know who they can ask about these matters. A lot of times, women are also judged if they lose money. And so, there's this whole thing to say that I cannot lose any of the capital because then people are going to say, oh, look what you did and stuff like that. And I think, it's always this whole thing where they feel that the men know better, but we know better that they don't know much better.
Okay, in conversations that we've had in the past, you've made the claim that women are better managers of money. Why do you say that? What leads you to this thinking?
Because women tend to research much more. And once they invest, they also hold the investment for a longer period. They're not really inclined to trade or churn their portfolios too much. So that's what makes them good investors.
Let's talk about this in more detail then, because there are certain personality traits that are common for a lot of women, and they do tend to defer to their significant other or to the men in their families. Why is this not such a good idea? And how can the men in the family also then take an active role in involving women?
So I think the first thing is that certainly the men need to keep women involved because it's for their betterment, right? I mean, tomorrow, if something were to happen, the woman needs to be able to manage these investments, know where to go, what to do. And if the woman is not kept aware and if she is not involved, then what also it means is that her needs may not be taken care of. So men and women do have their own individual financial goals other than what the common financial goals of the family might be. And if the women are not involved in these conversations, then it really means that the women's goals are really not taken into account.
There's also the factor of women tending, and I know this from my own experience, right? You have children, you take care of your children's needs first, and then you look at your own. But that is very important to also have in terms of the planning of the family's goals, right? So that's why it's all the more important to have. But in terms of investments, and here I'm talking about personality traits and I'm talking about the tendency to have a more risk off approach, do you think that women can learn a little bit in terms of the way that they invest from men, take a little bit more equity risk, for example? Do you find in interactions that you have with the number of women that you speak to on an ongoing basis that they tend to take less risk? How do you get around that?
Yes, they do tend to take less risk, but what you do need to keep in mind is that today, if you don't take risk in your portfolio, there's no way that you can actually grow your money. So, the average inflation, for example, in the last 20 years has been around 6%. And there are very few instruments that have actually beaten that. So, if you're going to stick to traditional investments like insurance or like fixed deposits, you're very, very unlikely to actually grow your money. So also remember that today you're taking risk in every aspect of your life, whether it is your, your career, whether it's your digital life that you have. You're taking a risk in every aspect of your life, right? Even in your relationships. So why is it then that money is one part in which you don't want to take any risk at all? So gone are the days where you could just manage with fixed return investments. That's no longer the case. So you'll basically have to get over this loss aversion phobia that's there and start investing into equities for sure in order to really grow your wealth.
I'm going to throw this question out there because, Mrin, I know that you have a daughter. And to all the parents that are tuning in, is there specifically something that you deal with? As a financial planner, you have this much more insight into how money should be managed and what the approach should be. What values or what ideals do you try to inculcate when you're dealing with your daughter?
I've always tried to tell them to strike a balance. And I think that's what's really important. From the generation that I come from, value for money was a really, really important concept. And I still think that, if you can live by that concept, it can really hold you in good stead through your life because it's really about the choices that you make and the balance that you create. So if you're able to balance out your spending, if you're able to balance out your loans, then you're going to have that much more to save. So right now, both my daughters are teenagers, and it's all about spending. There's a lot of peer pressure, of course. And so it's all about, as a parent, can you really help them strike that balance by saying no for some of the things which you think could be extravagant.
Fair enough. Let's deal with the concept of the gift then, because I think a lot of women today will be getting cash, and I hope that you've gotten something as well. But far be it for me to suggest that they should deploy all of that into investment options, because this is ultimately a gift and it needs to be treated as such. But are there any suggestions that you would like to make?
Yes. So first and foremost, spend whatever you want to out of this because it's a gift. And if there's something that you've been wanting to buy that you've been saving up for, or there's something that you wanted to spend on, I see no harm in doing that, right? But I would always give a small challenge to say that try to save 10 to 20% of whatever you get, try to invest it. And if you've never invested in your life earlier, then maybe what you could look at doing is that you could look at investing it into something like equities that you have never experienced. Because end of the day, this is your money. Even if you lose some bit of it, nobody's going to judge you, right? So I would certainly say that, okay, try to put away 10 to 20% at least into an investment that you may not have done earlier because you were scared about it. And that investment I would highly recommend would be equities and not anything else. And equities in the form of a pure index fund that you can really start with. But have fun, spend the rest of the money.
I want to talk about that a little more because here you have the psychology of the investor that comes into play, right? Uh, on the one hand, you talk about on an ongoing basis the need to save and the need to invest. You're taking money from your monthly income and you're putting it into an equity product. Perhaps there is risk associated with it. But here's where psychology comes into play, right, Mrin? Because you're getting a cash gift or you're getting a transfer of money. This is something that is kind of windfall, if you can call it that. And so taking money from this is not something that is hugely worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's not.
Okay, so beyond this, though, if you're talking about buying gold, and this is something that we speak about on an ongoing basis, can you truly consider that an investment?
Not gold jewelry. And this is my personal opinion. Of course, a lot of women may not agree with it. But it's my personal opinion to basically buy jewelry only what you're really going to wear. Whatever you're going to put away in the locker doesn't seem to be of any use to me. But Alex, that's me as an individual, and we must remember that family dynamics comes into play in a very big way for women across all strata of the society, right? So, for example, if you feel that you're able to create financial security for yourself by buying gold coins, then so be it. And if you feel that, buying jewelry is helping you create financial security, so be it. Because I don't really want to get into detailed family dynamics, but sometimes what happens is that women are really not able to use this money to invest anywhere else. So in that case, it's fine. But from a pure financial perspective, I do not recommend buying jewelry because there is 25 to 30% overhead charges that you lose out. Of course, if you buy diamonds, again, with diamonds, the resale values are very, very low. So buy only those diamonds that you really intend to wear. And the best way to actually buy gold is through the sovereign gold bond scheme because it's zero cost. The proceeds at maturity, which is at the end of 8 years, are completely tax free, and you can of course buy it online through your bank account as well. So it's very easy to invest into it as well. So I would certainly suggest the SGB, but then a lot depends upon, as I mentioned, family dynamics as well.
Dynamics, and if you're buying this because you want to look good, you can't wear a sovereign gold bond. But you know what I'm saying. But Min, thank you so much for joining in and for taking the time. And I think this has been a fruitful conversation.
Thank you.
All right, we have to slip into a very quick break. There's more on the other side, so do stay tuned.